If you've been watching me for a while, you know I absolutely love Ghost of Tsushima. It's one of my favorite games of all time, maybe even my favorite of all of the PlayStation exclusives, which is a bold statement to make when you have games like The Last of Us and God of War, but Ghost of Tsushima is just like my dream game. It's my ideal version of essentially what I wanted Assassin's Creed to be and more. So Feudal Japan being my most wanted setting from an AC game, and Ghost of Tsushima sharing lots in common with AC, it was like a perfect blend. I can't believe it's already been 3 years since this game came out. I remember the first time I saw it back at E3 2018, I was like, no way, this game looks way too good to be true. And then I played it on launch, and it was one of the best video game experiences I've ever had. It's not only a game I'd strongly recommend to anyone, but especially to Assassin's Creed fans who haven't played it yet. It clearly took a lot of inspiration from Assassin's Creed, but it did so much more than that and made it its own. And obviously the comparisons will start rolling in once Codename Red launches. We don't know how that game will be in comparison until we actually play it, of course, but it's gonna be near impossible for that game to surpass Ghost of Tsushima, for me anyway. Like I said, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Doesn't mean Codename Red can't be good, but I have a hard time believing Ubisoft is going to be able to deliver something on par with it. Not that it needs to be necessarily. There's still going to be very different games, with Codename Red being an RPG game and likely more of a successor to Odyssey, but gamers love to compare things, so it's inevitable. But regardless, I wanted to make this video for those AC fans out there who haven't tried Ghost of Tsushima, because trust me, this is a game you'll likely love, fans of the new games and the old. The setting alone is what makes this game so appealing, and is what really initially caught my eye back in 2018 when I first saw it. Feudal Japan is such a popular and beloved time period, and one of the most requested settings for games in general, which is why it's so appalling that we've hardly gotten any big AAA games set during this time. Until games like Sekiro and Ghost, of course. It just seems like such an easy opportunity for some of those larger studios to take advantage of. Especially Ubisoft, who of course is finally doing so after it being the most requested setting for an AC game for the better part of a decade. Like, there's no official numbers, but I feel from the community, Feudal Japan was more requested than Ancient Egypt, Greece, and Vikings. Don't get me wrong, those were very highly requested too, but I feel Feudal Japan has been wanted ever since the series started. It's finally happening, but for some people it's already too late. But okay, what makes Ghost so appealing to Assassin's Creed fans? Well, first of all, even though Jin Sakai is not an assassin, obviously, he still kind of feels like one. A lot of the story revolves around this samurai who's supposed to show honor and respect to his enemies, but he decides to start playing dirty and killing his enemies in dishonorable ways to defeat the Mongols. Blades to the back in stealth, climbing on rooftops, poisoning, sticking to the shadows. If you so choose to play like a ghost, you feel a lot like an assassin. I may even argue that there were times in Ghost of Tsushima where I felt more like an assassin than I did in some Assassin's Creed games. How should that even be possible? I mean, all Jin's really missing is the hood and hidden blade, and you might as well count him as a member of the Brotherhood. The themes within the story, I feel, could heavily resonate with an AC story. It's an origin story of how Jin becomes the ghost, not too different from a lot of the stories we get in Assassin's Creed, where we follow the protagonist on their journey to becoming an assassin. The way Jin changes and the way he starts to fight the Mongols actually aligns with the tenets of the creed. And seeing him trying to reconcile these two parts of himself, it's really not too different from something you'd see in Assassin's Creed. Sure, the setting, premise, and lore is different, but some of the themes within the story could still resonate with something in AC. It feels like it's in the same vein, and in my opinion anyways, it does a lot of these things better than Assassin's Assassin's Creed does. But obviously, a big part of Assassin's Creed is stealth. So how does stealth in this game compare? Well, it has some rather similar ideas and philosophies. Again, it seems inspired by AC, but it also does its own things in a better way. So there is no social stealth, of course, but that doesn't really mean much, considering some AC games don't even have social stealth. And I will point out that with the Mongol commander outfit, you can pretty much trick the Mongols into thinking you're one of them, which does sort of feel a bit like social stealth, disguising yourself as the enemy. But the way stealth works with the assassinations, detection system, some of the tools, it feels similar. But what I really like about stealth in Ghost is how consistent it feels. The detection system feels consistent. There's no weirdness like instant spotting or anything like that. It works how it feels it should. Now, normally, you'd assume that's something that I shouldn't have to go out of my way to praise, but after playing Valhalla on launch, it's something I pay a lot more attention to now. Ghost doesn't have the most complex and in-depth stealth system in the world, but at times it can feel even more in-depth than some of the newest AC games. And with the different tools, animations, and skills you can acquire for it, it's so satisfying. Then you unlock things like the Ghost Stance, where you can use different armor sets that have certain advantages, and not just stat boosters. I also love how the game utilizes the bow. Again, like the newest AC games, you can use the bow whenever, but I love that headshots are consistent one-shot kills in this game on any enemy unless they're wearing a helmet. It's such a simple but massive difference. Stealth is a blast, and if they do make a sequel to this game, like there's rumored to be, I can't wait to see what they do to it to flesh it out even further. But an area where Ghost of Tsushima feels far superior to Assassin's Creed is in its combat. I've been saying it since the game came out, but Ghost of Tsushima has the type of combat system I've always wanted from Assassin's Creed. It's fast-paced, each strike feels powerful and deadly, you have all these different types of attacks and combos, there's a variety of distinct enemy types and stances that allow you to attack each enemy in a different way. The combat allows for a lot of creativity, and there's a high skill ceiling, where you have ample amount of room to grow and improve with it. To me, this combat system is better than the hitbox combat system from the newest AC games, and it's better than the old counter-based system. While I do really like the old counter-based system in Assassin's Creed, compared to Ghost, it's very shallow and doesn't have much difficulty. You have one type of attack, a counter, and a guard break. The combat is more so reliant on animations than actual mechanics and combos. Again, I still really like this system, it looks fantastic, and I think Origins was headed in the right direction with its combat system, but Ghost of Tsushima's system is far superior to both in my opinion, and this style of combat would fit Assassin's Creed so well. But somehow, I don't see Ubisoft being able to implement a combat system with this level of depth anytime in the near future. I'd love to be proven wrong though. Another small thing, but I love how Ghost has a lethal difficulty that pretty much portrays realistic damage. Only taking a couple hits, sometimes only one, to kill an enemy, and then you can only take a couple of hits yourself before you die. It's about as close as you can get with making the combat feel realistic while still being really fun. It makes each combat encounter feel intense. Knowing one wrong move could be it for you. I'd love to see Assassin's Creed have some sort of difficulty option like this for their RPG games, instead of Nightmare, where all it does is make you really weak and enemies really strong with inflated HP pools. If they added a difficulty option like Lethal, maybe in Codename Red, that would be a great addition in my opinion. Even Jedi Survivor did something like this with Purity, a perk you get for finishing the game, so it makes the lightsaber combat feel more realistic. Something like that would be great for AC, especially with the new hitbox style combat system, where the fights can feel a bit long and tedious at times. Now, parkour is one of the few areas where Assassin's Creed has an edge over Ghost, but obviously, Ghost doesn't really need a complex parkour system. It's not set in dense cities like AC often is. All you need is the ability to climb and jump, and you get a grappling hook, which is pretty fun. However, even though its climbing and such is more basic, like the newer AC games, it does still have some features that are better. A great example being a dedicated jump button. Something we used to always have in Assassin's Creed, and yet somehow Ghost manages to even have this, but not AC anymore. Again, Ghost doesn't even need a complex parkour system. You're not climbing tall buildings or free running in this game, and yet mechanically, it still feels better in some areas than the newest AC games. I really love the way Ghost handles its side content as well. First of all, it has plenty of outposts to clear out, which is always one of my favorite things to do in open world games. But on top of this, it has these long side quest arcs that tie into the main story and focus on key characters in the game. They don't even really feel like side content, and I think these kinds of quest lines is something AC could do more of in their new games. Another thing I really appreciate about Ghost of Tsushima is the lengths it goes to immerse its players. It has a very limited dynamic HUD that only displays the information that the player absolutely needs in that particular moment. It makes the game far more immersive, and I love that rather than having on-screen markers, waypoints, or mini-maps, you see the path to your objective through a guiding wind. On top of that, you can see where outposts are within the world through smokestacks in the sky. You can follow foxes or gold birds to important areas. You don't have to constantly switch over to your map. Way more games need to start doing this, especially open world games. Elden Ring is another game that did this very well. Just don't hold the player's hand so much. Let them explore and try to display necessary information in the most immersive way possible. When people talk about open world games, they'll often refer to the Ubisoft formula. A lot of games follow this Ubisoft formula. Tons of map markers, mini-maps, compasses, just unnecessary HUD elements. Now, their newer games have started to add things like exploration mode, which is a step in the right direction, but they can definitely do more to create an immersive experience for their players, and Ghost of Tsushima is a shining example of that. Don't even get me started on the visuals either. To this day, it still has some of the most beautiful environments I've ever seen. I rarely ever use photo mode in games, and this game made me spend hours on it. So that should tell you something. Probably the biggest reason why some massive AC fans haven't played Ghost of Tsushima yet is because they can't. It's a PlayStation exclusive, which is a crying shame, because this game deserves to be available to everybody. There are rumors about it coming to PC, which will allow a whole new group of players to try it. You already know if it does, there's going to be Assassin's Creed related mods for it. The potential of that prospect alone is very exciting. Unfortunately, I don't think those on Xbox will ever be able to, but if you're a fan of Assassin's Creed, and if you have a PlayStation, I strongly recommend this game. It has almost all the best parts of Assassin's Creed, while eliminating some of the worst parts. I really hope Sucker Punch makes a sequel or successor of some kind, because their work on this game was absolutely fantastic. Honestly, just making this video makes me want to replay the whole thing again, but let me know in the comments, have you played Ghost of Tsushima? If so, how does it compare to Assassin's Creed to you? If you're an AC fan and haven't played Ghost, are you planning or hoping to in the future? As always, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and considered subscribing to the channel if you're new. Special thank you to my members for supporting me, and other than that, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day, everyone.